In this devotional, I'm going to share with you 3 thoughts from Daniel chapter 3, verses 16 through 18, where we will learn a little bit about God and government. Daniel chapter 3, verses 16 through 18 says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were about to be thrown into the fiery furnace. And if you're familiar with the story of the fiery furnace, you know what happened. Nebuchadnezzar, this great king, this great ruler, the superpower of the day, built this grand statue of himself. And it was his command that when the music plays, everybody was supposed to bow down to it. Here's the problem. Nebuchadnezzar had people from all sorts of different religions, all kinds of folks from all different ethnicities, all different cultures. They were there in his court. And when the music played, these 3 Jewish men refused to worship the false god set before them. Thought number 1, no obligation. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego recognized that they were under no obligation to answer Nebuchadnezzar in this matter of worship. What they recognized is that there is a certain sphere of authority that exists for government. And within that sphere of authority, they have a responsibility to obey what the law commands. But when Nebuchadnezzar built this great statue and he was prompting false worship, he exceeded his authority. This is government trying to take the place of God. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego recognize this problem, and they point out they don't have any obligation to answer Nebuchadnezzar, a man, when it comes to questions of worship. Thought number 2, power of God. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego recognized that no matter what it was that Nebuchadnezzar was going to do to them, that God has power over it. That it doesn't matter what sort of authority, what sort of governing rules Nebuchadnezzar was going to bring to bear upon them in this situation, that God has the power to keep them safe. And they make Nebuchadnezzar this simple promise, that God will save them. He will save them from a fiery furnace or any other such torture that gets put before them, because they trust that the Lord will care for them as they are faithfully serving him. They believe that the power of God is sufficient to the task of keeping them safe, even with the most devastating death being brought to bear upon them. Thought number 3, the choice of God. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego don't know whether or not God is going to save them. They know he has sufficient power to do it. And they know that Nebuchadnezzar doesn't have sufficient authority in this area to prompt them to worship him. What they realize, though, is that it's ultimately the choice of God if he will display his power or not. They know that if God so chooses, they can be saved from this punishment that's going to be brought to bear against them. But they also know that it's possible that God may choose not to save them in this scenario. And they still are walking directly into it. It's the choice of God to utilize his power and to demonstrate his ultimate authority in this area. It isn't up to them. It isn't up to Nebuchadnezzar. It is only the choice of God that's going to determine their outcome. These three thoughts come to you from the assigned reading, Daniel chapters 1 through 6. If you'd like to read through the Bible with me, you can do so by joining the Facebook group Through the Bible, where we are reading the text of Scripture together.